On today's show, Kyrie Irving returns and leads a run for the Dallas Mavericks. How did they get it done? And should the Mavericks trade Grant Williams for Bobby Portis? Is that a good move? Talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, where we let it ride. Thanks for being part of the show. Making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. With the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, leave a 5-star review, like the video, and comment anything below. Let me know in the comment section what's one thing that stood out to you in this Mavs win over the Sixers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if you place a $5 bet and it wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Kyrie Irving just tweeted, "Chop wood, carry water. I gotta stay poised."
Yep.
And I regret to inform you all, we back up!
We're so back. It's uncomfortable almost.
Joining me, as always, on the postgame prodigy. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
Shams Charania, don't piss me off ever again.
An Eastern Conference forward is likely to participate. No, seriously considering participating in the dunk contest. Thanks,
I can't believe that tweet.
Thanks, bud.
Unbelievable. Who was it? Jaylen Brown? We don't care.
I was gonna say I could have told you anybody, and you'd be like, "Oh, really?"
We do not care. Give me the trade.
It was Obi Toppin.
No. NBA All-Star. That's like the newspapers that don't know anything about basketball. NBA star Enes Kanter.
Yeah, Shams tweeting weirdly specific cryptic tweets with videos attached to them. But we're not going to be cryptic with you today. We're going to be straight up with you. The Mavs, there's some trade rumors. We'll talk about the latest in that. Bobby Portis for Grant Williams is a real rumor that's been going around. There's some smoke to that one. And let's start here, though. The Mavs get the win against the 76ers. No Joel Embiid. No Melton, no Batum, no Robert Covington. This is a shortened down Sixers team, and then the Mavs are missing Lively and Exum. But still, Kyrie Irving returns, and let's start here slightly. Kyrie Irving returns, 23 points, 8 assists, 10 of 17 from the field. Very efficient night. 2 steals for him as well. He led the run in the third quarter. That's what mattered. They needed a spark. They needed a galvanizing. They needed some kind of force that just took them to another level, that did things that just not any normal NBA player can do. There's 450 of these guys, and there's only like 200 of them that do it well, and there's only like 15 of them that can do things that Kyrie Irving can do, right?
Yeah, right.
And like some nights, you just need a guy like that, and Luka can't do that every single night. It's got to be somebody else, and tonight, luckily, it was Kyrie.
Yeah, no, I think he had like 11 in the third quarter. And yeah, like you said, the start of the game, oh, man, it felt like we were on course for yet another disaster. The team looked so flat. And
when I text you before the game, hey, if they lose, we burn everything down. I was getting my pitchforks and my torches out. I was ready.
I was pretty much ready to burn it all down right then and there. But a lot of the reason why they started so slow was Kyrie back from an injury, and we've seen this before with him, where he's very passive, and I don't even know how many shots he even took in the first half of the game, but barely felt like he was there.
He said this before the game. Leslie McCaslin, the sideline reporter for Bally's, like took him aside and was asking him about his preparation for the game. She's like, in the past, you've been kind of like, you got to ease back into games and all that. But then at the end of this last run, you talked about how you need to be more aggressive to start games. It's like almost she was trying to like coach him through a question. She was like, hey, remember, this team is much better when you're aggressive early on. And he was like, and he goes, yeah, I'm just going to let the game come to me. Like, no, what are you talking about? Don't let the game come to you.
You need to start asking questions like that. Kid, so are you going to start changing the rotations to, I don't know, something like Omax plays more?
Yeah, listen, kid, the team needs some energy and effort. And, Omax Prosper has been given so much energy and effort. Would you consider playing?
Like, I don't know, 10 to 12 minutes a night, little 4-minute bursts.
But the run by Kyrie, though, it happened, right? Like, we don't have to complain about all those things today because they did make it happen. This was a game where they needed to win because They were favored, and Embiid wasn't playing. This was not going to be one of those games where you go, the Mavs just don't have enough talent. They did. They had it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these two games right here, the Sixers and the Nets, both teams either terrible in the Nets case, or just beat to hell in the Sixers case. And even if Embiid, what's going on there? How much time is he missing? I don't know, because
they're like, we think he can come back before the playoffs. Like, oh no, that's not a good.
every like doctor, like sports doctor I see on Twitter is like pissed off. They're like, stop saying this. He's out for the season.
Our friend Brian Suterer was really mad about the wording of all that stuff. And then I saw one that was like, he could be out 1 to 2 months. Those are very different numbers of amount of time.
1 month is March. Like, you're back you've missed like maybe 10 games. There's just simply no way. But where were we even going? Oh yeah, and then the Nets game. Like, those are 2 games you have to win. And it sounds stupid to call games like those where you just hope you win, like automatically. No guaranteed things with this team. Must wins, but that's just where we're at. Not just vibes wise. I mean, with the fan base, I can't even imagine if they lost both of these games where we would be at.
We would lose the fan base.
Yeah, we would have to change this show to the election's right around the corner. I mean, we could tap into
locked on Trump versus Biden 2024.
We could get into the algorithm early and really plant our flags.
On today's show, tell me why Nikki Haley appearing on SNL was the worst thing that ever happened to the politics.
Luka Doncic preparing himself for a Senate run in 2034.
Dang it, I would vote for him. I would vote for him.
Yeah, I would too.
But Kyrie leading that run, I thought that was the big turning point of the game. And to go into that fourth quarter and to be able to have actual garbage time was just such a godsend. And it was so nice to see a different team fall apart. The Sixers scored 33 in the first quarter, 24 in the second, 17 in the third. Like, for a different team to fall apart, it was very nice to be able to see that instead of the Mavericks themselves. The Mavs still do rely on threes a lot. Second half, 10 of 21 from three, 47%. And that's when they got it done. Like, they still need those threes to go down. First half, when Tim Hardaway Jr. wasn't hitting his threes, didn't feel like anybody was getting threes. Luka just didn't have it in this tonight. Like, it was just one of those games where you're not sure if the injuries are mounting up. He just didn't look right. You just can't deny. You can't go, oh, Luka's a fraud. Look at it. You can't deny that he just wasn't there in this game tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the ankle injury or what, but it looked like it could have gone downhill very quickly. The way that Luka looked like he was a little frustrated, and 10 shots for Luka, 15 shots for Luka, 10 threes. So it wasn't really attacking or
and like several catch and shoot threes.
Yeah, a couple catch and shoot threes. So I don't know. Maybe that ankle was really bothering him, and he just didn't, want to push it. But I actually got to give him some props though. The second half of the game, he was just kind of letting guys cook. Like, Kyrie started cooking. Grant Williams started cooking. Maxi Kleber was hitting pull-up jumpers. I mean, and Luka was just kind of letting it happen. I mean, he wasn't really forcing anything, I thought.
He does. They do those things every night. They do them every night. And that's why if you're listening to this, you should trade for those players. And the Mavs.
This is why we said all along that we're just not trading those guys.
They're untouchable.
There's just no return except maybe like a all NBA level player.
But your point about Luka is apt, is that he's willing to be the guy that distributes. He's willing to do that. He just hasn't had the players around him that give him the confidence. And so when he sees Josh Green go off in a game like this, where first half, Josh Green was 4 of 5. He hit 3 threes, went to the free throw line twice because of steals that he got in transition, like worked for those. Couple of assists, couple steals, 15 points was like leading the way. And you go, man, all right, Josh Green. And then all of a sudden, Maxi started coming along. Grant Williams started to make some good plays. And like, they stayed connected on defense too, was another thing. Like, they didn't hang their head as much, and when Luka can see that, he'll distribute to those guys. It doesn't have to be a Luka takes 25 shots every night offense. But Kyrie being healthy definitely helped that part. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm very interested to see how many games just in the Luka era have been won like this. I'd have to imagine it's very few. I mean, what was that stat going around? They were 0-7 in the last month in games Luka didn't score 40 points or something like that. Yes.
I mean, that's just unbelievable. So them pulling out a win like this, it's not, even though the Sixers aren't very good right now. I mean, the Mavs are only 2.5 point favorites. So Vegas didn't seem to think that this was some big lopsided game.
No,
which is embarrassing.
The Mavs are on the road, which you give them a couple points for that, but still, the Mavs weren't a big favorite, but they got the win. You'll take it. Coming up, let's talk about some of those role players and how did they step up? Did they find something? Did Josh and Maxi, have they maybe turned a corner? What about Grant Williams? And then we'll get into some of the rumors and stuff coming up. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of stuff for the Super Bowl. that you can put some money down on. All kinds of things. They're super fun. Go to the Parlay Hub. They'll give you a bunch of different parlays where you build a bunch of different bets together, and then you can bet less money to win more money. That's how you kind of you play it up. The first one, Christian McCaffrey scores a touchdown at any time. Travis Kelce scores a touchdown at any time. Patrick Mahomes, 250 plus passing yards. And then Brock Purdy, 250 plus passing yards. If all those hit, McCaffrey scores one, Taylor Swift boyfriend makes one, and then Mahomes and Purdy both throw for 250 yards. You put $10 on that, you win 62. You put $100 on that, you win 620. That's a pretty good bet. So go check it out on the Parlay Hub. Check out all that other stuff. Again, FanDuel.com/lockedon. And if you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon, you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Again, FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. We appreciate each and every one of you. Trade deadline coming up on Thursday. We'll have extra shows for you here. Josh Lloyd of Locked On Fantasy Basketball will have a live show for you, so check out the Locked On Fantasy Basketball channel. He'll be live at 12 Central, so Texas time, 12 noon. So he'll be on for as long as his little heart desires to talk about all these different trades and all that. We'll have extra stuff on Locked On NBA and all that. So check back in. I'll be on Locked On NBA that day as well. So 2 Locked On NBA nights in a row for me, Wednesday night and then Thursday night as well. So there you go. All right, Slightly. Let's get into the rest of this game. The Mavs get a comeback win. It is a comeback win because they were down by 11 at one point.
True.
Win the game. Josh Green, really good first half. Maxi Kleber, really good second half. Did either of these two turn a corner somehow these last couple of games? Maxi had a good game the last one. Feels like Josh has been coming on a little bit. Did they figure out anything?
Well, you always set yourself up for disappointment if you say yes. But Josh Green, I think yes, honest to God. I don't see why not. Like, okay, so why can't Josh Green, who's 23 years old, have kind of hit a next little stride in his career? Like, why is that not a thing that could happen? He's playing
feels
with
like every single time at February we hit this point, it feels like he has a game like this.
That's true, but it does feel like he's impacting the games beyond just making threes. I mean, he is making threes.
I agree.
But he's impacting the game in other ways. And I don't know. I feel like he's still a young enough player who, definitely could blossom into. I don't know what he could blossom into. I'm not saying his ceiling is like uber high, but
if he stayed in college, this would be his rookie year. If he stayed in college all 4 years, this would be his rookie year. Sometimes you got to think about those guys like that because they come in so young.
But for him, it's literally always been a confidence thing. If he just kind of breaks that barrier where he just comes out every single game and there's not like some shaky confidence moments, he could for sure be a great role player at the very least. And Maxi, I just want Maxi to be healthy. His 3-point shot's always going to fluctuate. So I can't say that Maxi's like back and he's going to be this good. His 3-point shot looks good, even his misses, because that's the thing with Maxi. When he's off, he is off. Like even the misses are nowhere near the rim. But even his misses tonight were
misters.
Yeah, they do. It was God. His misses tonight were just like good, just a little long. We can live with that. Long is better than short.
On Josh Green, I think he has. This was a really good sign because it was a Luka Kyrie game. Usually we've seen him go off in some of these games that are just Luka games, just Kyrie games, and it's like he's playing off of one of them. But this one was a good sign seeing that. He's had some really good games recently. The Hawks game, he had 21 points, 4 assists. That game that Luka scored 70 in that one. He had an 18-point game against the Timberwolves. That was one where we saw him stand out a little bit. And then the last game against Milwaukee, he had 20 points, 9 boards, 3 assists. And then tonight, he finishes with 20 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals. Like, it does feel like he's coming along with something. Like, the attention is not on you. When you get the ball, attack. And be aggressive, be active, and be out there. Do you think starting changes anything for Josh Green? Because these have all been in starts.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the players themselves will tell you that there's just a different mindset when you're starting versus when you're coming off the bench. Helps them get into a groove maybe a little bit earlier in the game than coming off the bench. Some guys are just built like that, where it's just off the bench, they just can't seem to get themselves in the right headspace or find the groove. I will just say Josh Green needs to figure out how to do that because I don't know how long he'll be a starter. Just being brutally honest, but yeah, I'm sure maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I find that interesting that these have all come in starts, and it feels like and this is why I joked that every year at this point it feels like he gets in a groove like this, because last year around this time they traded Dorian Finney-Smith and then they started him, and then he went on kind of this run, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh great. And then I think 2 years ago, didn't he went on like a little bit of a run. Maybe not. Maybe he had a couple good games on the way to the playoffs, and we were like, oh, is Josh Green gonna have a role in the playoffs? And then he didn't after the Jazz series. But yeah, Josh Green is the interesting one. I'm curious to see. I'm looking all these trades, and I see, there's the report going around that the Hornets would want Josh Green in a PJ Washington trade. Trading Josh Green is really hard. The math is just very difficult, and it's difficult, one, for the Mavericks to trade him because his contract is this poison pill contract where you're technically sending more money to a team if you send Josh Green than you're getting rid of with Josh Green's contract. It's just confusing, and it's hard for the Mavericks to trade him while also still staying under that luxury tax, that first apron. And if they are in that first apron, let's say they trade Josh Green, like, screw it, let's do it. They trade Josh Green, then they can't get any buyout guys, and then they're restricted in other ways. Like there's just ramifications for some of this stuff, and so their best case scenario is for Josh Green to figure it out like this, and to do that, to move forward. On Maxi though, his drives to the basket, like he's starting to drive to the basket a little bit more. I feel like the last couple of years he's tried to add that, but he's had some drives and dunks this season where I'm like, oh dang, like that's the new thing that he's added to his game. And if teams are going to respect his shot, then that's just a different element of the Mavs offense that you kind of need at least like once a game. You're not even asking a lot.
He had a left-handed finish in this game.
well, and then the jumper you talked about earlier where he stopped, popped, pulled up, and you're like, what?
Yeah, I mean, just hilarious. He finds these grooves sometimes where he's hot and like the shot clock's winding down. You're like, oh god, here comes Maxi, and then he'll make it. And you're like, whoa, wait a second, what did I just witness? But
it's one of those. It's one of those where you realize like if a guy like this went to play with like a rec league, he would just destroy.
Yes, yeah. This is that Brian Scalabrine video where it's like, wait, he 21-0'd that D1 player, Jesus. But no, Maxi's important to this team, man. He just is. It's just the way that they're constructed. Now, you could argue, like, should Maxi Kleber be that important to the team? That's an argument. That's a fair argument. But the reality is, the way the team is constructed, he is important. So the team needs him to be good and in tip-top shape. And, his defense still looks good to me. I
thought it was solid tonight.
Yeah, his defense still looks good, which is really important. I mean, that's obviously Maxi's thing. And if the three ball's falling, then he's very valuable.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say, I have a gripe about this game.
Okay.
We mentioned it kind of earlier. We were joking about it, but I'm really serious that in these games in the first half where it just doesn't look like the Mavs had energy, doesn't look like they would have. There was another Shams tweet. I got the same notification and I saw your face.
This will be the first time since 2017 an All-Stars competed in a dunk contest. You're done. I'm turning the notifications off. You're done.
If you want to stay off Twitter and you want to get the real notifications that matter to real people, subscribe to my subtext. I send text to people. I sent all the rumors that I saw today. Get it straight to your phone so you don't have to be like Slightly and watch these stupid
one of my best friends deleted Twitter, and he'll send me like Instagram reels of rumors. I'm like, dude,
from like 4 days ago?
Yeah, it's like, never send me this again, please. I mean, I'm like plugged into underground Twitter sources that you didn't even know existed that have 4 followers.
My one gripe about this game is that when you need some energy and you need some size, it just looked like so badly in this first half that the Mavs are getting beat on size. It was like Kyrie guarding Markieff Morris or Marcus Morris. It was Tim Hardaway Jr. guarding Tobias Harris and just getting fried next to him. And Josh Green trying to guard, like Kelly Oubre or somebody. And you're just like, they just need some size somewhere. They needed a pop. Like, just why recall Omax at all? Play Omax. Just play him. Especially in a half where you look that bad. Like, how detrimental could he possibly be when Tim's just getting destroyed over and over and over again? And he's not hitting any threes on the other end either. It's like, no. I don't understand. I just don't understand the decision. And I know we do this. We do this as NBA fans. Every single team, every single team. I know because I'm the channel manager of Locked On NBA. I listen to all of the Locked On shows. I know that every single team has this one player where you're like, why don't they just play this guy more? Let's just play this guy. But I'm standing on it. I'm not backing down. I'm standing on it.
All right,
in games like this, play Omax.
You ready to play the conspiracy music? He was the last end of bench guy to come into the game. I'm just saying.
Andrew Wiggins is out tomorrow.
I'm just saying. It's
Dorian Finney-Smith is out tomorrow.
It really could be as simple as them saying, there's a small chance that not that they're shopping him, but there's a small chance Omax is in a deal. Let's just not injure him.
Personally, as a human, I would be sad if he got traded. But.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely be sad. I can't imagine a trade where I would be happy losing Omax. You know what I think they should do? The Harrison Barnes trade always gets a lot of flack. That stuff's cool to me. Like in baseball, when a player gets traded mid-game and they're running off the field and everyone's hugging them and they get a standing ovation. I want that in the NBA. I want players traded mid-game.
I want them only traded if you're playing the team that you're trading him to.
Yeah, no,
and then let them switch jerseys. Let the staff come out and give them the other jersey and come.
Woj and Shams are fired, and they announce it's 6 p.m. every night, right before the first game of the night tips off. Okay, the Mavericks have traded for PJ Washington. That's how we find out. We all tune in and watch. That would be electric.
Oh, man. If only we could ever do news like that ever again in the history of anything that ever happens.
It would be so electric.
Coming up, speaking of news that has happened, Mark Stein reported that the Bucks and the Mavericks have talked about a Bobby Portis for a Grant Williams swap. Are you interested in that swap? I am. Let's talk about that coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Everybody has something. You got something. You got stuff. I got stuff. You got stuff. Slightly's got stuff. Isaac's got stuff. Grant Williams has stuff. He needs to talk through some of this stuff. And BetterHelp can help you get through some of that. The Mavs have a literal psychologist that travels with the team that everyone knows that they talk to. Everyone needs somebody like this to talk through certain things in their life. It's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased about your life. You need that kind of a voice. You need someone to ask you the right questions. And I've had a personal experience with BetterHelp, and they have people that will ask you those specific questions. Therapy can be for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports teams. Sometimes I'm so mad about the Mavericks. I'm like, if this is my biggest problem, I'm doing okay. It's important to get things off your chest once in a while. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Slightly, let's talk about some rumors. Mark Stein with his great Substack that everyone must subscribe to. If you don't subscribe to his Substack, I don't know what you're doing. Subscribe to my Subtext, though. Do both.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel while we're talking about it.
What else can they subscribe to?
Playback.tv/Slightly Biased.
Support local news. Subscribe to the Dallas Morning.
There you go. Was that like $1 a month?
I don't know. They send me emails and I'm like, how are you guys making any money off of this?
Yeah.
Can I have $2? I'm like, what are you, Wikipedia?
Seriously, though, support your local news. That is important.
Absolutely. Download the WFAA app. That one that one has Locked On Mavs on it. So
I should probably practice what I preach because I don't do any of those things. But I should. Right when we get off.
Subscribe to a bunch of people on Twitter.
Yeah. Oh, God. I forgot about that feature. Don't do that. If you do that, reassess them.
Every time I see it, I'm like, how could this possibly be worth my $5 a month? I can't. Bobby Portis for Grant Williams. It was reported by Mark Stein that they've talked about it, and then there was an addendum underneath it. There's like a footnote underneath it that said, well, hold up there. This would not be a straight up swap. The Mavs would have to send something, which I think would be like some seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
To grease the wheels. I've called second round picks the lube of the NBA trade deadline. And so if they have the second round picks, if they could just push that one, squeeze that one through. Your thoughts on Bobby Portis for Grant Williams?
This trade makes no sense to me.
No sense? None?
I just think it makes a lot of sense to me for the Bucks.
For the Bucks?
You guys can't. Hey, I watch a lot of basketball.
Okay, wait. Then
I watch a lot of basketball. You guys can't trick me. I've watched the Bucks play basketball this year. You guys cannot trick me, man. I've watched Bobby Portis play basketball this year.
Why doesn't it make sense for the Mavs then?
I just don't know. I mean, Bobby Portis gives you size, right?
6'10".
Better rebounding, for sure, immediately. Yep. But he's also, genuinely one of the worst defenders in the sport. At a position where it's like really important to not be one of the worst defenders in the sport. And if your response is, well, Grant Williams is one of the worst defenders in the sport. No, he's not. Okay. I know that he's been frustrating, but he's not one of the worst defenders in the league. Bobby Portis genuinely is by a lot of defensive metrics and just by the eye test in general. He's just not a good defensive player. And I don't know. I personally want the Mavericks to get out of this. Well, we'll just win every game 130 to 110. Or 130 to 129. Sorry, I gave them way too much credit right there. 130 to 129. Like I'm
holding a team to 110 would be an honor.
Yeah, that would be an honor. And Bobby's just been so bad this year, and he's older. And I don't know.
He's
It's not like
28.
I wouldn't be like mad about it or anything like that. I wouldn't be up in arms, but it doesn't make much sense to me.
He is older, but he's bigger. He brings some size, and it's not like Grant Williams is changing your world right now anyway.
True.
Bobby Portis also shoots 38% from three. He doesn't take a ton, but three a game, 38% for his career. Like he's a solid 3-point shooter. And so like if you want to add some size, this is if Maxi hadn't had like his last couple of games where it kind of like, oh, it piqued my interest, I'd be interested in this. The thing is though, you can play them both together, and the Mavs need to add size in some way. Like this would be a way to get that size. If the Mavs didn't have to add a couple other things in this, if that addendum hadn't come up, I'd be all for this because it would add size to the Mavericks. You could start him if you want to, or you could bring him off the bench. Like either way, his minutes have gone down for the Bucks this season, and Bucks fans love him. Like he is like adored up there for the title run. And all that.
For the title run
and all that. But I don't know. Maybe this to me maybe is more of an addendum, like a referendum on how bad Grant Williams has been so far this season.
Here's my thing though. One, Grant Williams would be really good in Milwaukee.
He should be good here.
He should be good here, but I think where the problem went with Grant Williams, and I'm guilty of this too because I was hyping it up, is that the idea was kind of, well, Grant Williams can maybe change our defense entirely, like by himself almost, just from being this versatile defender who can guard a bunch of different positions, and he can be the quarterback defensively and do all these things. That's what I thought could happen. Not the case. Grant Williams in a system where there's already some great defenders, I think would look much better than he does now.
Like
with
in
the
Boston?
Mavericks. Yeah, like in Boston, where he was good. Like he was really important to a finals run team.
It turns out playing next to Marcus Smart and and Derek White, who
and
is
Al
apparently
Horford and
apparently going to be an all-star.
And is he really?
Zach Lowe on his podcast today said that he was going to vote Derek White as an injury replacement for the East.
What are these guys doing?
That's Zach Lowe. So if Zach Lowe's going to do it, then I don't know anything anymore.
I mean, surely there's going to be two. Surely Trey's one of them. If Trey's
he
not
was
one
on,
of them,
he was on with McMahon today, and that's one of the things they talked about.
if Trey's not one of them, then there's no reason to watch this sport anymore.
Trey was one of his own.
Okay, good.
No reason to watch the sport anymore.
It's just this guy's averaging 27 and 10.
I can't imagine you going from, I watch basketball, I know that Bobby Portis is a terrible defender, you know the NBA to that level, and then you're like, you know what? If Derek White is an all-star, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm done. You lost me.
That was it? That was the straw?
Yeah, I was joking in my stream today. The Mavericks lost this game. I was just going to become like a college football channel, and I'd never watch college football ever.
I'm going to start streaming like a video game, but not a well-known one, like just a random one.
Ooh, that's nice. Get a little niche going.
Yeah. I'll be the only guy streaming. I don't know. Can't think of a game.
Well, let me just say, because I know I'll get flamed in the comments or whatever for saying I don't want this trade, because I know everyone does want the Grant Williams Bobby Portis trade. It's not that I don't want it. It's not that I think Grant's untouchable or anything, but you know, that trade doesn't do much for me personally. Like it doesn't alter your future or anything like that. And it's just, I don't know. I don't want to get out of this offense first thing. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes the Mavericks bigger, and it makes them like it helps that, which has been a big issue. We also want to get out of every single position is undersized. I was talking to David Locke today, and he goes, the Jazz over the last 8 games have had one of the worst defensive stretches I've ever seen. And I looked it up, and I noticed that the Mavs were worse over the last 8 games than the Jazz. It was like 135 defensive rating. And he goes, why? Like, why? And the only answer I could give him was they're literally undersized at every single position.
Yeah,
every single one. With Lively out, especially.
Yeah. No, for sure. And
so
that's...
we want to get out of that. And so going from Grant Williams at 6'6" to Bobby Portis at 6'10" would be taking a step in that direction.
Yeah, that's why even like PJ Washington for me, who stay tuned on my YouTube channel. I'm dropping a video on him tomorrow. I watched a lot of Hornets games in the last 48 hours, like 8 of them. PJ Washington, interesting player. I'm higher on him than I was going into the process.
7'2" like wingspan.
Right, but the problem would persist on the Mavericks is he is 6'7", playing power forward, and he does get bullied by some of the more physical players from time to time. Yeah. He'd be
but
like,
I think if you have him and Grant Williams, like if they don't have to give up Grant, like if you have both of those, then all of a sudden, like, okay, you've added some girth to this team where they needed it.
And another thing with Grant Williams for me, again, if the trade pops up where he gets traded between now and Thursday, that's fine. I want to preface that by saying I'm not saying Grant Williams is untradeable, but there's a world where the Mavericks make some moves here and there, and Grant's place on the team becomes a lot more solidified, and it makes a lot more sense. You get what I'm saying?
Well, even if they do the PJ Washington thing and they don't have to give up, if they don't give up Grant Williams in it, imagine like switching a defense where it's Luka, Grant, or PJ Washington. Like you're running into a brick wall.
Yeah,
true. Any of those three opportunities there, or Maxi, like all four of those guys.
Yeah, or any like big player like Kuzma, any of these guys who are available. I'm pretty in on Kuzma.
I'm in on Kuzma too. I'm in on Kuzma, PJ Washington. The Wiggins one, I'm out.
Really?
I can't get there.
I talk myself into the Wiggins one every time I think about it.
McMahon brought up Wiggins with Zach Lowe, and he goes, and McMahon was like, the Mavs are really thinking about this, and they're deciding, you know, there's a path where they don't have to give up as much to go get Wiggins. And I was like, that's why it makes sense for the Mavericks, because it's a bargain.
Well, that's the only way I'd be cool.
Then Zach takes a second and he goes, I don't know why any team in the league would trade for Andrew Wiggins right now.
That's a little spooky.
It's kind of where I am too.
It is bad, but it is one of those like, okay, forward thinking, you know what? We can fix this. And if you're right, it would pay off dividends for you. And if you're wrong, yeah, it would hurt you a lot, just the contract. But if you're only giving up Rashawn like contracts to get him, basically.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it depends.
Then you know it's a risk I think that might be worth taking.
Wouldn't
I talked myself into it.
Also, wouldn't you be rather if it was just like Rashawn Holmes and like the contract to fix it, wouldn't you rather be wrong about a 6'7" wing that's been like one of the best players at a title team than a undersized center or like the things that they have right now?
Yeah, most certainly.
So,
and also, I want to say on the Hornets front, I am out on Nick Richards.
Oh, you didn't like him?
No. Offensively, he's good. He's a good rebounder. Defensively, it was a shocking.
Yeah, they've struggled without Mark Williams. That team, I don't know what that team does defensively, and they don't know either apparently.
PJ's had to play a lot of small ball 5, which is just unfair to him, really.
But look at PJ and Mark Williams' numbers last year together defensively. Really good. That's why I'm winning on PJ, because him and Lively together, that's a pretty good defensive front.
They had a top 5 defense in the league after the All-Star break.
Yeah.
And beat the Mavs twice and ruined their season.
Oh.
Thankfully, actually.
And they had Dennis. Yeah, actually, now looking back, maybe that wasn't the lowest moment of my professional career. I was so sad. I was literally drinking on the show.
Oh man, you drove him to alcoholism.
All right, there you go. Let us know in the comment section what's one thing that stood out to you against this with this game. Would you trade Bobby Portis for Grant Williams? Let me know in the comment section if you do that. Guys, thanks for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.